Good night, the teacher and classmates today. My name is Ricardo Carvajal Suárez, and now in this video recording, I am going to talk about the differences between direct, indirect, and oblique objects and their respective examples. So now I am going to share my screen. Okay. Syntax and teaching grammar, the name of the subject. Okay, today I am going to talk about explain the difference between direct, indirect, and oblique objects by using examples. Okay, three types of objects in English syntax. First of all, I am going to talk about direct objects. According to direct objects, regarding the study context in accordance with the development of the topic focused on direct objects, I can exceptionally emphasize that direct objects represent a very important grammatical constituent in the composition of sentences or clauses due to the fact that direct objects are determined in words or phrases that represent very important grammatical constituents within the composition of phrases and clauses to give a fundamental meaning to the context of the phrases and clauses to determine relevant meanings in the sense of providing key information that complements the phrases and clauses within the context of understanding to grant the relevant meanings that complement the sentences or clauses to get complete grammatical sentences full of relevant meanings to the grammatical context of the sentences or clauses. In this context, direct objects represent a noun phrase denoting people or things which represent a grammatical structure being affected by the action of a transitive verb in which it is exceptionally emphasized that direct objects are people or things based on noun phrases which condition the direct grammatical actions established by the transitive verbs of the sentences or clauses. That is, the direct objects are the grammatical expressions that are part of the sentences or clauses that are being directly affected by the actions of the subject determined in the use of transitive verbs, whereby direct objects come at the end of sentences or clauses to provide grammatically complete sentences full of relevant meanings. Okay, according to direct objects, I have three examples. James bought a soccer ball, Elizabeth caught a rabbit, and William watched the TV. Okay, the explanation of these three sentences. Regarding the context of the three sentences presented which use direct objects, I can exceptionally emphasize that direct objects are represented in three different direct objects determined in the following three grammatical expressions: a soccer ball, a rabbit, the TV. Therefore, the three direct objects in the three different sentences are functioning as three extremely important grammatical constituents that stand out for establishing relevant meanings of fundamental information to understanding the full context of the three grammatical sentences by providing relevant information in the sense that the three direct objects are directly affected by the actions of the verbs proposed in the three different sentences in the broad sense of understanding about those who perform the actions of the verbs, emphasizing the subjects of the three sentences who represent the individuals who perform the actions of the verbs which directly influences the direct objects by representing the effective and efficient grammatical complements of the three sentences, determining complete meanings to the grammatical context of the sentences. According to the next topic, to the indirect objects, I can say that regarding the study context in relation to the effective and efficient development of the topic focused on indirect objects, I can essentially emphasize that indirect objects are intimately related to grammatical expressions that represent grammatical constituents of exceptional completion of sentences, phrases, and clauses in the broad sense to provide relevant information in the understanding of the context of the grammatical sentences, focused on providing indirect objects to provide meaning to the total understanding of the message determined within the sentences, phrases, and clauses. According to the next part, with which the indirect objects are represented in grammatical entities that benefit from the actions of the subjects of the sentences or clauses determined in the use of verbs to give or communicate to exceptionally emphasize the message that the different sentences, phrases, and clauses wish to convey through the use of indirect objects as absolute beneficiaries of the action of the subjects through these verbs mentioned within the grammatical context. Therefore, indirect objects are nouns or pronouns determined in noun phrases that benefit from the action of the main verbs established in the different sentences or clauses with which indirect objects are established in people or things which benefit from the actions of verbs within the grammatical context of sentences, phrases, and clauses, stating that the indirect object comes before the direct object but after the main verb. To directly establish who is the beneficiary of the main action of the verb within a complete grammatical statement full of suitable meaning. According to the examples of the part of the indirect objects, I had Jessica sent him a letter, Matthew gave her a flower, Emily bought her cousins some books. Regarding the context of the three sentences presented which use indirect and direct objects, I can essentially emphasize that the three indirect objects are being used as beneficiaries of the action of the verbs in the three grammatical sentences. By providing three indirect objects in the broad sense of understanding determined in that the three indirect objects represent three object pronouns established in the following three grammatical expressions, him, her, and her cousins, which fundamentally represent three indirect objects that are determined as the beneficiaries of the action of the verbs in the three different grammatical sentences, verifying that the three subjects of the three different sentences are representing the agents who perform the actions in benefit of the three patients determined in indirect objects because the indirect objects are benefited by the actions of the verbs in the three grammatical sentences. Additionally, the three sentences use three direct objects to determine what are the things from which the indirect objects benefit within the grammatical context of the three grammatical sentences. According to the last part of referring to the oblique objects, I can say that regarding the study context, in accordance with the development of the topic focused on oblique objects, I can fundamentally emphasize that oblique objects are essentially determined within the grammatical context or grammatical constituents of exceptional complement for the total understanding of the message determined in the grammatical context of the development of effective and efficient sentences, phrases, and clauses that provide relevant meanings of total understanding by the transmission of pertinent information that consists within the grammatical expressions determined in sentences, phrases, and clauses. According to the following information corresponding to oblique objects, with which the oblique objects are part of the grammatical constituents that they complement the sentences, phrases, and clauses, providing essential meanings of absolute clarity in the sense of the total understanding of the communication transmitted by the sentences, phrases, and clauses. Consequently, oblique objects are those who also receive the direct object, noting that oblique objects come at the end of sentences, phrases, and clauses previously determined by the use of prepositions that determine the positive effect of conjunction of determined oblique objects in the connection of the prepositions together with the noun phrases denoting people or things who in this sense represent the direct objects of the grammatical sentences, but who are conditioned under the fundamental perspective of representing oblique objects by the effective and efficient use of prepositions together with noun phrases within the sentences or clauses. Therefore, oblique objects differ from indirect objects by using prepositional phrases that highlight a connection with noun phrases to understand the real meaning of the message conveyed by a sentence, phrase, and clause within an effective and efficient syntactic grammatical context. According to the three examples regarding to the oblique objects, I had Ronald gave a scarf to Stephanie, Caitlin played video games with Jacob, Scott cooked lunch for Nicole. According to the following explanation, regarding the context of the three presented sentences we use oblique objects, I can fundamentally emphasize that the three grammatical sentences are using three different oblique objects in the sense of providing three different connected prepositions together with three noun phrases represented in three persons with three proper nouns. In this sense, the three oblique objects are determined in three noun phrases which are connected with three different prepositions determined in the following three grammatical expressions. To Stephanie with Jacob for Nicole, which represent three oblique objects determined in the union of three prepositions together with three different noun phrases, which establishes the sense of general understanding about the grammatical context of oblique objects within the three grammatical sentences that emphasize specific actions represented by the verbs used within the three grammatical sentences, with which the subjects of the three different sentences are using effective and efficient actions determined by the action verbs in that sense, of providing relevant information based on the use of oblique objects who are determined in receiving the actions of the subjects of the three grammatical sentences, making the intermediate use of direct objects to emphasize the things from which oblique objects benefit, but in a broad sense of using prepositions connected to noun phrases to determine three complete grammatical sentences. To conclude, I am going to say that this topic is really important because I can identify three different kinds of objects that is direct, that is referred to the last part of the sentence, that is referred to an expression that completes the sentence, and obviously is related to a noun phrase, in this case, people or things. According to the indirect object, is related to an expression that is a grammatical expression that is related to an object pronoun, for example, me, him, her, us, or, and obviously that is connected with a direct object to get an complete sentence. To get a complete sentence. According to the last part of oblique objects, that is related to the use of objects, but using with a prepositional phrase, for example, for, to, or with, according to the examples, and obviously that is complemented because this complement the sentences, and obviously gives a clear meaning, and obviously the whole information is really important in the three kinds of examples of objects: direct object, indirect object, and direct object, indirect object, and oblique object, because the three develops an incredible and important knowledge in the affirmation of knowledge of three different kinds of objects. That is all for today. Thank you so much. See you soon. Bye bye.